Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 161. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave. Jay, what is it? What's 161? What's the word?
A paradrome.
A paradrome. It's a palindrome.
Palindrome. I was close. Give me credit, people. Come on.
It's all right. You know, no one ever accused you of graduating high school, so.
Thank you. I have. I'm Super Movie Brother. I'm Super Movie Brother Jay, and this is Super Movie Brother Dave.
I already said that.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. It's fine. It's fine. We'll just keep.
All right.
We'll just keep going. It's you know what? Editing's overrated anyway.
It is.
I'm so tired of doing it.
And our frequent listeners, I think, have noticed that perhaps.
Yeah,
or maybe it's
maybe.
just me because I listen to every little nook and cranny.
Well, you're
of every
the only
episode.
you're the only frequent
I am the
listener,
only one.
sir. So you're the only one. You're the guy.
Yes.
You've left.
So we're more raw and uncut.
Yeah. You've left 52 iTunes reviews. All
Yeah.
you. Just
We're bigger, longer, and uncut.
all right, man. So what'd you get up to this week?
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry.
So did you do anything fun this week? Did you get down to doing anything?
I did a bunch of little things. I went to the shore with you and Lauren. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later, and then and Logan, and met up with an old friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a few years. I was in his wedding and everything like that. He's got 2 young kids. I haven't met them. It's been a long time. I mean, he's got this new house, quiet spot up in North Jersey. It's good to see him.
That's
It
just
seemed
weird.
like-
I haven't seen this guy in a long time. He now has a family. I don't know his family. I'm going to go into his house.
Well, I mean, we were very, very good friends, and I also, know his wife pretty well too.
But it's been so long. He doesn't.
It's been 3.
I would have background checked you before,
It's been
before you
all right,
came
all
into
right,
my
that's
house.
That's not true. I met his firstborn, but when she was a baby,
Right. I still would have.
and that was the last time.
I still would have background checked you. I would have been like, this dude may be a pedophile. I'll be bringing him
stop.
into my house.
Stop. But it was like, honestly, it was like no time has passed at all. It was kind of really nice to see him. Lil J came up with me, and he was in our. Lil J's in our little group, and he.
When you say little J, I really picture.
That's how we.
I picture Total Recall, and like
Right.
you're the tall guy, and you open it up, and you have the little guy on your chest. He's the one controlling the body, or Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Who run Bartertown?
Master Blaster, Master Blaster.
You're Blaster, and little J's Master. Master Blaster, Master Blaster. The height difference is that dramatic.
It is. And yeah, I mean, we've been talking about he wants to get on the show at some point, and I told him, like, yes, one day you will be on the show, and I'm sure everybody wants to hear that episode because it will be an interesting doozy.
Once the dirt is over Lauren's grave, he will be allowed in the house and
Right.
on the show. Lauren does
Or if I ever move out of my house, yes.
Lauren is not like me. I'm a much more passive, just like I don't give a fuck about much of anything. But Lauren will, she will not let him. She would probably like slather him up with peanut butter and have the dogs attack him, so that way
Probably.
she would. Yeah, that just someday
He'll
someday.
be interesting on the show for
Yeah.
sure that one day.
Someday. Maybe we'll get into an argument that winds up.
Oh, it
me
will happen.
punching
That's
the
a guaranteed
wall. Yeah.
thing. I don't know about to that extent, but arguments will ensue for sure.
It's gotten there before. It's gotten there before.
Oh yes.
All right. So
And so I mean, and I'm newly officially single
again,
So again, yeah.
We talked about this when we were at the beach. Like Lauren's
I
like, so
know.
what's going on with that? And you're like, it's close. And now you're on the show. This is only 3 days later. Now
Well,
it's official.
As of last night.
As of last night. All right.
Yeah, we got together. It was kind of coming, and
You got together.
You
were coming, and then she goes, "This is the last time." This is the last time. I'm just not satisfied. It just doesn't, you just don't do it for me, Jay.
We knew this was happening, and she still wanted to come to my basketball game, and she never saw a game yet this season.
I've never seen.
She was cool enough to actually go and still wanted to talk about it afterwards and have a proper goodbye.
Yeah.
And, it was really, honestly, it really just came down to me not.
It was so
pretty much
mature.
solidifying
It was
that,
beautiful.
I just don't want kids, and the more I get older, the more I kind of am more grounded with that reality. I think I kind of played around with that idea quite often over the last 10 years or so, and
so are you saying
the more I get older, the more I realize I don't want them?
I played around with the idea. I'm just picturing you it's right after you masturbated, you got it all over your hands, and you're just like, do I want these?
Oh God, you gotta take it there, Dave. Come on. But it's sad, and
sad that
it was no bad blood, it was one of those kind of things where
sad that it ended, not sad that you don't want kids, right? Like you're at peace with that decision.
Honestly, well, both. I mean, it is kind of sad, but I do feel like that my job has dissuaded that viewpoint for me. I really do. 12 years of what
any spawn of yours
kind of
will 100% have something wrong with them.
Oh yeah.
something that can be diagnosed in a DSM-5.
I barely have a brain. I'm deaf and left one ear. I'm freakishly tall. There's a lot of problems with me. Yeah.
Now I'm picturing your kid as my giant. No, you have a full working brain. It just it's still on dial-up modem. That's all.
Well put.
It's still on dial-up. That's all.
Yeah.
So some of us got Verizon Fios.
I'm still. Oh God.
You've got mail. That's Jay's comment 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
You've got mail. Hey, he's back.
I was earlier, I started talking about my sister's wedding, and he's like, dude, are you midway through a sentence from a story we were talking about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, you just
I think I probably am.
It was this quiet moment, and you're like, so this, and I was like, dude, it was just very off-putting because I was like, we were doing something else 2 seconds ago, and now we're on to this story that you didn't finish from 3 weeks ago.
I know.
It was good. But so what I did this week, man, we went to the beach. We were talking about that. We went to Belmar, which fuck you for making us go to Belmar. Me and Lauren, we have things that we're an old married couple, so we're comfortable when we do things that are within our comfort zone. This was a new beach that we haven't been to. I was there when I was 16. I haven't been there in a long time.
I just assume everybody knows Belmar from this area.
So we get there and we're gonna GPS our way there, and we're just Belmar, New Jersey, ocean, whatever, and it takes us right to the center of Belmar, and finding parking was absolutely fucking ridiculous. There's absolutely no parking. We're literally all the way up by Main Street, and it's 2 miles from the beach, and there's still no parking. There's people walking that far, and you're like, oh dude, come to Spring Lake. And we're like, where the fuck is Spring Lake? And where was this information before we got in the car?
I didn't know. I would have gave you guys a lot more heads up on where to park.
So again, your brain on dial up.
Yeah.
You text us and you're like, hey, I'm here. And we at that point have been driving around for 45 minutes looking for parking. I got a kid who's like, I gotta pee, and I got Lauren who's like, yeah, I do too. And it's just just park anywhere. And I was getting ready just to drop them off at the fucking beach and go find parking. By the time I found parking, I'd probably come back and you guys would all be packing up to go home. But so I find parking, we meet with you, we go to the beach, we have a fine time at the beach, in and out of the water and stuff. Water was fucking frigid.
It was, but it was tolerable.
Turned my grapes into raisins super quick. Second I got in, my sack just went straight up into my body.
But it was a perfect temperature for the beach. It was a great
fine.
weather day. It was a mixture of sun and clouds, and it was hot, but it wasn't too hot.
So it's like when you get out of a hot tub in the winter, and it's really cold, and then you jump into the hot tub and it feels really good. It's that, but reverse. You're out baking in the sun, and then you jump into this ice cold frigid water.
Yes.
So So yeah, we had fun catching a few waves, very small waves.
Catching some other things too, Dave.
So the one time we come down to the beach, like Logan like just catches that there's people like doing stuff over there, and you're like, what's going on over there? So we walk over, and you're like, there's a shark over there. So we walk over, and there is a shark like in the surf, just like rolling around. And
I picked up Logan immediately,
Yeah, and
I didn't know, at first that it was like
a baby, yeah,
just a baby thing with no teeth, and it's gonna be harmless.
Yeah, so
and all that.
it's not even a baby shark. It is a sand shark. It's a dogfish. It doesn't really have like those big sharp teeth or anything like that. It does technically it has teeth, but its mouth is more like a stingray. It's on the bottom of its face and stuff. So it usually picks up crustaceans. Anyway, getting way too deep.
Super cool looking though.
So people are like all gathering around it, and like I'm inspecting it, and I notice there's something in its mouth, and that it's trying to swim, but there's something that's like keeping it from swimming. So I was like, I don't know like what to do here. So I reached into the water and I picked it up. I just like grabbed it, I pinned it to the ground, and
on the second attempt.
And I picked it up and I pull it out, and like as I'm pulling it, I'm feeling this like hefty weight dangling from it. And here there's about a 1 pound fishing weight dangling from it, and it has a massive hook sticking out of its face. So I don't know why it just happened to be the case, but I had my pliers in my bag, so I told you go get the pliers, and I told someone else like go get a lifeguard. Like, so you came back with the pliers, the lifeguards came up, and we got the hook out of its mouth, and the lifeguard took it back, and it swam away. We saved the shark's life.
Yeah,
we saved this, and
feel proud about it.
The best part of that was on Monday when I went to go drop Logan off at school. Logan couldn't wait to like touch the shark when I had it in my hand, and it was a wriggly little thing, but Logan's like, can I touch it? And some random like 30-year-old dude's like, can you turn it over so I can touch the white side of its belly? And I was like,
what?
And I was
why?
Like, I don't know, but I told him no, because like when you do that, sharks actually go into a catatonic state that'll last like 20 minutes, and you could kill it when you do that. So I was like, no, I was like, just touch it from like, right by its fin and run your hands from nose to tail, and it will feel smooth. But if you run it from tail to head, it'll feel like really rough sandpaper. Or some sharks have what's called dendrils, which is actually like teeth-shaped scales that may actually cut your hand too. So
that's Verizon Fios Dave right there for you.
But anyway, so I told this guy, no, get out of here. And then my daughter walks up and just touches it. Ooh. And then she goes to school on Monday, and she does have an issue. Like when I drop her off at school, I'm not saying like separation anxiety or stuff like that, but she does get moved from one parent to another and stuff like that. So when one parent is exiting, sometimes it could be a big deal for her, because in her mind, it's going to be some time before she sees that parent again, either me or her mother. So she tends to act up to get more attention and stuff. So she'll kick, scream, cry, like, well, I mean, not like violently, but like she'll throw a fit.
Yeah.
And the way I got her to stop her fit was I was like, why don't you tell all your friends about what you got to do at the beach this week? Tell all your friends about the shark. So she immediately like, okay. And like the tears, because Logan wants nothing more than to be the center of attention.
Right.
So she turns around and like looks at the teacher and then like addresses the class, and she's like, I went to the beach and I touched a shark. And she started like telling the story, and the teacher's looking at me, and she's like, she has an active imagination. I was like, no, this happened. It's like, this happened.
This is true.
And then when
she's like, where's the photos, Dave?
So that's the thing. Like, I texted my mom to tell her the story, and my brother, and my brother's just like, where's the photos? I was like, who has their phone in their pocket when they're in salt water? I was like, nobody. And my brother's like, no pictures? Fake news.
I think there was a couple people in the area that had their phones out, but they're just complete strangers.
I don't want to see them. I'm shirtless, so I don't want those photos to be out anywhere.
Dude, you were a fucking treasure. You're like a hero. on Belmar Beach.
Me shirtless is not what anyone wants to see. So,
and the four lazy lifeguards up in on the stand didn't.
No,
do
the two guys.
the
two guys were helpful. The young guy came down.
Oh, I know. Actually, they were pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't know about it. I mean, but when you see a crowd of people, like when
that's what I was thinking.
You see a crowd of people like gathering around something, you might want to check it out, lifeguard guy, because Steve Irwin died from a stingray. So like,
true.
even something as innocuous as that could wind up hurting people. What if it was a jellyfish? What if it was a Portuguese man of war and you got people that just falling dead all over the place? I don't know if that's what happens when you touch one of those. my high speed internet hasn't looked that up yet. But yeah, it was a fun day. But the next day,
You fulfilled your Jaws experience, man.
I did. Yeah, I got to touch a shark.
Like, this is going to be...
I mean, I've
it's
touched-
kind of legendary. This is thing. This is big. This is big.
But I mean, I've touched sharks before. I've touched sharks at the aquarium.
I never have.
I've caught sharks on accident.
Actually,
like,
I never actually touched them, but...
while fishing.
Actually, no, I did touch them, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I did touch them, technically. I was trying to pull the fucking hook out.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, the barb's like the size of your pinky finger and you're trying to rip it out. I was like, yeah, you're just going to rip his jaw off if you do that. Yeah. And then, but the lifeguard had a good idea. He's like, just, you'll never break that hook with your shitty pliers. So just stamp the barb down and slide it right out. And it worked. So
Yep.
it was a good time. It was a good time at the beach. Other than that as well. Like, but on Monday, so we were at the beach all day out in the sun, and I only used sunscreen once. But on Monday, I felt like absolute hammered dog shit
So did I.
because you are out in the sun all day. You only applied once. I'm not burnt or anything, but apparently you can still get sunstroked and like sun poisoning from just being outside all day.
Well, it is. I mean, I just know it from experience, from just, whether it be golfing or the beach. It's exhausting. It's a draining day, and you're dehydrated. Your skin's dehydrated. Like it's a I mean, it's almost like you're getting intoxicated by just the sun itself.
It was one of those nights where I'm just like, all night I just drank water and I still felt like shit in the morning. I skipped coffee in the morning because I was like, I'm just going to drink water. I had to drink like 8 waters, like between when I woke up and like lunchtime. I was pissing like crazy. And finally, like around lunchtime, I just started to feel better. I was like, all right, I must be back to some sort of like homeostasis here. My body's regulated. So it's like, I
had the same experience.
I love going to the beach, but I love going to the beach when I have a place to stay there where I can go out to the beach for like an hour or two and then come back inside and like get into air conditioning.
It took me a long time to get used to doing the day beach thing and just driving home. It's
terrible.
I just like a little quick shower on the beach just to rinse off the salt water and then just dry off and go home. But and I started doing that when I got older. After 21, I would just pack up my own cooler, be able to drink and hang out on the beach for a while, have fun. It's a quick little day.
No, we don't drink on the beach yet because it's illegal in New Jersey to drink on the beach. We didn't do that. One of us didn't take a blue zombie cocktail and pour it into a Gatorade bottle to make it look like you were drinking Gatorade.
Dude, it was perfect.
I did that.
I mean, perfect coloring.
It was
perfect.
It worked out. Yeah.
I was very impressed.
All right, man. So let's head over and let's get into what are you watching?
What are you watching?
What are we watching?
He's trying to watch some illegal channel.
Always watching.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
All right, Jed, did you get down to watching anything this week? Anything you want to tell people about?
I'm still watching Euphoria and Big Little Lies, and I started watching The Americans on FX. Well,
Okay.
it's done now,
It's
I think,
done,
on
yeah.
FX. But always heard about it. Always heard it was very solid, well regarded critically and everything like that. And this is right on my alley. It's a spy fucking show.
Yeah, it's old news at this point, though.
Yeah, but I've just now finished season 1 and it's fantastic, and I'm gonna finish the series. I'm not gonna get into it much more until maybe after I finish the series. But I just wanted to throw it out there. It's worth a try if you like the spy genre, and
I don't
I'm
care.
enjoying it. Yep. Also, I saw Shot Caller on Amazon Prime. My buddy Andy from work has been talking about it for a while.
Shot caller, as in like, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller.
Yeah. So, Mr. Lannister himself, oh god, I'm going to butcher his name. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau?
Nikolai Coster-Waldau?
Nikolai, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Jamie Lannister.
Yeah.
He is the main guy, and he is, unfortunately put to goes to jail.
I want to be a baller.
Because he
shot
was
caller,
intoxicated.
Brawler, who be dipping now?
Got into a car crash. Unfortunately, his best friend in the backseat died, and he had to go to jail. And then, because of certain circumstances, he went to a really rough jail, fell into a gang, and then it just kind of increasingly goes into these tropes.
What kind of gang was he in?
Just like a white guy gang.
Just a white guy gang.
Yeah.
You know what white guy gangs in prison usually are? Racist.
Oh, it's all race. I mean, it's that's what jails are. I mean, it's all like, you get the white guys.
But you make it
get the
sound
black
so
guys.
innocuous, where it's just a white guy gang,
Well, that's what it was. They were like, I don't know. That's what it seemed like.
Hey, what's up, white guy? Oh, you're a white guy too? Yeah, we're the white guy gang. Yeah, we're the white guy gang. We don't commit any hate crimes here at all. None.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And, you know, it just kind of...
So it becomes a horrible bigot is what it becomes. Okay.
Yeah, so he becomes enthralled in all these gang-related things in prison.
And he meets Edward Norton. And he meets Edward Norton from American History X.
Things he has to adapt or survive, man. He's got to survive. And then, you know, he has to do this one thing, and he gets fucking busted and gets tacked on another additional 7 years in prison. Starts to lose in touch with his family.
And that one thing was 17 condoms filled with heroin up his ass.
And
I don't know if that's true.
It gets pretty fucking crazy as far as the plausibility of the storyline.
Question is, how does he wipe his ass in prison with a golden hand? I gotta know.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
I'll say this. If you like this kind of genre, I think it's definitely worth watching.
Like Oz, Prison Break, stuff like that.
Anything like that. Yeah. It's a solid movie at the worst.
Maybe don't watch it if you've been in prison for reals, though, and have some terrible
but it's very
memories
realistic.
of that.
I mean, it has some very heightened moments as far as
how many times you been to jail,
prison
Jay?
Life. But this is, you can tell though. Just when you see the movie, you'll
just tell how realistic it is.
You'll see.
We'll talk about realism when we get to my review of Crawl.
It gets a little outlandish.
Okay,
but it was still a really fun movie to watch, and I thought it was cool. It's a very masculine, cool little film.
Masculine. We're going to talk about masculinity a lot when I review Stuber later.
Ew, yes. And then finally, I saw City of Lies. So this, I actually caught on YouTube. It is an unreleased film, at least in America, and it follows Johnny Depp and Forrest Whitaker. And this is based on a true story of a reporter and a former detective.
I am the king.
Trying to figure out what happened with Biggie's death.
Okay.
You know, so it's all about the, you know, this 90s.
Why did that not come out in the United States?
It was a weird financial thing or the studio thing. Like,
okay.
They went bankrupt.
I remember hearing about this.
They just shelved it.
A year or two ago. Yeah.
It was last summer. It was supposed to release, and it got shelved.
I remember not caring then, and I don't care now. But, you know, continue.
It was an okay trailer, and I was intrigued by the story, obviously, and it's still an unsolved case in L.A., and it's just mostly showcases the corruptness in the Los Angeles Police Department and how, you know, a lot of things were covered up between the gangs and how many cops were working for the gangs, and also Death Row Records and all that, and Suge Knight was a big part of all the storylines, and it was intriguing. It was fine though. It was not
everything I've heard about Suge Knight is that he is nothing but
a puppy dog,
a music producer, and kind of just an upstanding citizen.
Oh, sure,
an upstanding citizen. Yes. Yeah, I mean.
But it's an okay movie.
It's an okay movie. All right.
It's like a B-, maybe a C+ movie. It's fine.
So good that it didn't even get released in America. So, all right. Well, that's it.
But I actually caught. Yeah, it was. I can't believe I found it. I just stumbled upon it
on YouTube. Quality good, like just full HD?
Perfectly fine.
Okay, all right. I guess because it didn't release in America,
it's probably illegally put on there. But like, I think it's only been released in Germany, or maybe another country or two. But like, it's
because the Germans huge, you know, Tupac and Biggie fans.
I don't understand why.
Right. Yeah, you know, after they've culturally progressed past David Hasselhoff, then they became huge Tupac and Biggie fans over there. I speak as if I know. I don't. I'm just.
But I feel like the storyline would have made some bucks in America, you know?
Yeah, no, probably not. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Those stars and like the whole Biggie death and Tupac death and like the investigation about it.
Are they stars today, Jay? Is Johnny Depp still a star?
I think that maybe also is why I got shelved.
Yeah, wasn't this also around the time of him and Amber Heard slapping each other? And
it's still kind of going on, right?
Yeah, so
his star is not quite as bright.
That's right. Forrest Whitaker's like, you know, I still got that Star Wars paychecks coming in, and I still got.
Oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
He went back to his roots. He's now at least like a good character actor now.
Yeah,
he does these small little roles. It doesn't matter what size movie it is, and he just kills it.
All right, fair enough. So what I got around to watching this week, Jay. So the first thing that I watched was I went back and I watched one of my favorite movies from a few years ago starring Jon Favreau called Chef. And absolutely, I love
that movie.
So,
who doesn't love that movie?
Right. So,
seriously.
First off, I love this movie for the father-son relationship. I think that's like one of the best portrayals of like learning, and I say learning to love your kid as if like he didn't love his son the whole time, but he never took the time to get to know his son, and it took this trip that they go on for him to get to know his son and stuff like that. And I love that. I do think they downplayed the son's role a little bit too much, and they save a lot of that emotion for the end, and I wish they kind of sprinkled it in throughout. But I do really like that, but I also like the idea of like this creative type who is out there, and his feud with Oliver Platt, who is the food critic, which is, you really, like, the second time you watch it, you do really realize that, like, this feud was something that he created in his head. There was no feud. It was just he had a bad write-up and he could have fixed it, but he blew it way out of proportion.
Right.
Blew it way out of proportion. And I really... I really respect the movie though for what it did with like cooking. Like it just like when you go watch the Chef TV show that is now on Netflix, which is a great watch about cooking and just Jon Favreau talking to his Hollywood friends with the chef who
I've been meaning to watch it,
who trained him for the movie, because he asked the guy to like train him for the movie, and the story does parallel this chef's life a little bit. So the chef had told him that if he was serious about doing this movie, he has to do it as if it were real. Like it has to be real. Now the chef's name is Roy Choi. And he's the one that kind of started this whole food truck industry that's been going on for a couple of years now, and his food truck became so I think
popular,
this
movie has
so
a lot,
famous. It had
a lot to do with it too.
No, I think
some small way
this movie is parodying his life, and that's why Roy Choi was so into it. It has to look real. So he trained Jon Favreau how to cook like a chef, like how to actually do it. And Jon Favreau fell in love with cooking so much as a result of this movie that he's always been a fan of cooking and he's always liked to cook, but he's never been any type of classically trained cook. And now with that little bit of training, he's really just wanted to run with it. And when you think about like what Jon Favreau is doing now, he just finished with The Mandalorian a few months ago. Lion King is coming out right now, but he also took the time to like go into and do this little show where cameras follow him and Roy Choi around, and they cook food with other famous cooks and his famous friends from Hollywood. And the movie itself is just, it's just fantastic. I just love the heart in it. There's just so much heart that I think if you haven't seen it, you definitely got to watch it. It's no longer on Netflix.
It's a must watch.
Yeah, it's no longer on Netflix, despite the fact that the show is on Netflix. But the movie is streaming on Amazon Prime, and that's where I watched it. So
okay.
But yeah, fantastic movie. I just love the heart. It's just filled with so much heart. It oozes with it. Not the type of heart that makes you cry, but it just kind of makes you smile a little bit. Like even at the end, you just smile.
Absolutely. I mean, and just visually too.
Yeah.
And with the music and the quality, it's and so in tune.
John Leguizamo is great in it. I love John Leguizamo.
He's beautiful.
Yeah,
absolutely. They were a great fit. Fully had a complete understanding and grasp of what he wanted to do in that movie, and pulled it off perfectly.
Yeah, it
was definitely one of my unsung. I mean, that was definitely top 5 movie of the year for me. Whatever year that was that before we started the show.
Oh, that was 2014. Yeah.
So, and I'm due for a rewatch on that one. I love that movie.
Yeah. It was just one of those things where me and Lauren were sitting there, and she's just like, I haven't watched that in a while. And I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. So, went back to it, and really glad that I did, because I picked up a whole lot more this second time around than I did the first time. It's definitely one of those movies that I like to go back and revisit from time to time.
Oh yeah, this is buy-worthy.
and speaking of which, another movie that I watched this week that I do really like to go back to from time to time is Neil Blomkamp's District 9. I fucking love it, dude. Like, so this time around, I probably haven't seen it it came out in 2009. So it's 10 years old now. And I haven't seen it in, I gotta say, like 5 years. Even though I own it on Blu-ray and it's now streaming on Amazon Prime, I haven't seen it in about 5 years. So I went back and I watched it, and I realized that like this was the first act of this movie is very much like The Office. Like if you notice, like Vickis is doing all this stuff where like he's trying to get the aliens to like sign over their eviction notice, and the one alien like slaps the clipboard out of his hand. He goes, "You see that? He made a mock. So that counts. He signed a thing. Let's move on to the next one." And he looks at the camera, and like people are like looking at him. Like I swear, there's a few times where like the camera pans to people and they're making that Jim Halpert face from The Office, where they're like like, and there's this like really just scene that like they kind of play for laughs in it, but like it's haunting when you really think about it. They find a batch of prawn eggs, is what they call the aliens prawns, and he starts pulling the nutrient tubes out of them and the air tube, and then he pulls this little plug and he's like, there you go, you just committed your first abortion. You want to have that? No, you don't want to do it? Oh, here, take this thing. It's your little souvenir. You can tell everyone that you did this. And he's like, it would take too long for us to go through and pull the plugs on all these things and let them die slowly. So they bring in a flamethrower and they burn the shack down. And he's like, you hear that popping? You hear it? It's like popcorn. It's all the little prawns, all the little prawn eggs. They're all spilling out what's left of them in there anyway. And it's like, that's fucking terrifying. That's haunting. That's terrible. And that's really what Neil Blomkamp was going for in it. And it's just such a well done movie. And
it really is, especially for a debut.
I actually watched his short film Alive in Joburg, which is kind of like the proto version of this. It is you can catch it on YouTube. It's only about 6 minutes long, and it's about aliens who come to Johannesburg. They get stuck there, but they have squid faces instead of these insectoid, crustacean like prawn faces like they do in District 9. And it's about people who people in the neighborhood that all the aliens are living in really dislike them. But the difference is in District 9, it's all actors and stuff who are giving these interviews about how much they hate prawns, and they have fake news stories and stuff like that. In his short film Alive in Joburg, he actually interviewed real people about a ethnic sect that lived in a neighborhood, and all these people on the streets' reactions to these people are real. Right. He didn't tell them that they were in a movie and that they were talking about aliens. Like the racism that they're showing in those interviews in Alive in Joburg is real. And it's like, so you really, especially if you're from South Africa, like Neil Blomkamp is, racism is a lot different for them there than it is here. It's very much more of a fresh wound. Don't get me wrong. We're still years and miles away from
I think we're still generations away.
But there, because apartheid only ended in the early 90s, it's still a very fresh thing there. So it has a lot to say about society and about racism and stuff like that. But it also has like a hopeful message to it as well.
Right.
Sharlto Poltley, who plays Vickis, he's really a reprehensible protagonist throughout that entire movie, right up until the end. And even then, I'm not even sure if he did what he did for the right reasons, or whether he was backed into a corner and at least being noble was the only thing he could do.
But it's just enough for you to love it.
For you to like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really did, dude. I really love it. I wish Neil Blomkamp would get to do more. Like, he gets tied to
I think he's just too hard. I don't think he can play well in the sandbox. Like, I don't think he's that kind of guy. I think you have to give him complete free reign to do whatever the hell he wants and just take that gamble.
And there wasn't
sometimes maybe they have done that afterwards and it hasn't quite pulled off, Yeah,
there was a news story not too long ago that like Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5, or like it would be a sequel to Aliens, is not completely dead.
I'm behind that.
Yeah, it's not completely dead. Now, it's not on his IMDb page, but his next project that he is attached to is RoboCop Returns, which was actually the original proposed sequel to RoboCop. So they took the script for the proposed sequel to RoboCop that never got made, and Frank Miller penned RoboCop 2. Now he wants to go back and make the real sequel that was supposed to have been made, and apparently it's a very ridiculous script, but he's going to be going through it and cutting it down and making it something that's like more digestible. But he loves RoboCop and he wants to bring that to the screen now. And I think that that's going to be something that's in his wheelhouse. But like the first thing he wanted to do was get the plans and get the original armor that and the original like practical effects for RoboCop and bring them back. Because if you remember the RoboCop
he's a very
in 2014,
practical guy. Sure,
that looked awful. Like so
God,
he wants to immediately go back and make RoboCop like he was and how he should be.
Right.
And this will be a proper sequel to the original RoboCop to replace all the shitty ones that came after the original.
With him doing it, I'm confident.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, District 9, just if it's one of those movies that you've seen, you're like, oh yeah, that was good. Go back and see it. Dude, this was a Academy nominated film. His first film was nominated for like a ton of Academy Awards when it came out.
And an obscure sci-fi movie too.
And the cool
really
thing is,
impressive.
Like, he's this guy
does not happen often.
He's this guy from Johannesburg who moved to Vancouver, who went to like Vancouver Film School, started making his own short films, and he actually didn't go to school to be a director. He went to school for special effects.
Well, that's my fear. Like I have a fear that he is like a one-hit wonder.
I don't think he is, dude.
No, visually he has it nailed. Like he can do things. Obviously,
go watch his Oats Studio
but
stuff.
him being like a writer-director, I'm not 100% sold on yet.
You know, when
obviously District
when
9's
Elysium
been
comes
great.
out, I was like, all right, he had this story in the bag already, and we know he did because he had his short film Alive in Joburg, and then that is what gets Peter Jackson's eye, and that's what we're doing, like a mini movie cocktail here, for Christ's sakes. But that's what catches Peter Jackson's eye, and that's what gets him to make District 9. And you know, I that is very much like, you know, the hungry young guy who has a story to tell and gets it out. After that, he doesn't have a story, right? Elysium's his next film, and it wasn't anything that was like in the bag. He very much goes through like a sophomore slump. And then Chappie comes out. Now, that's actually the movie I want to go back and see, because I liked Elysium, but I didn't love it like District 9. I want to go back and watch Chappie, because I remember watching Chappie and being extremely disappointed, only because it wasn't what I expected it to be.
Okay.
And now I want to go back without expectation and just sit down and watch it and see the stuff.
It could be that kind of movie where, like, on second viewing after a bit of time.
But after that, he hasn't directed a major motion picture since then. He's been doing his Oats Studio stuff, which is his own creator-owned stuff that he puts up on YouTube. Some of that stuff is really fantastic. Some of it's really funny. Some of it's really hard sci-fi. Some of it's just visually beautiful. And it's mostly just these 6 to 7 minute short films. Yeah. There's one that he's doing, a series that I like. It's called Atom, and he makes it with the Unity, with the Unity engine, and it is all animated, and it's done through motion capture and stuff like that. And it's really well done. It's just really good.
Not to like
he's a fantastic
put
designer.
him down or anything like that, but I think with the new flood of streaming service programs going on now, going forward, he's going to be much more of a hot commodity with pretty much any kind of original sci-fi type world content, because it's not as high of a budget, it's not as big a risk for the film studios to do something in theaters.
So like we know that
a lot cheaper to go through streaming.
Could you imagine like him doing something like on Netflix? Like they just had that movie Mother, I think it's called, with Rose Byron as the voice of the robot. Robot looks very much like Chappie.
I Am Mother.
I Am Mother, right. I started it. I didn't like it. Like I couldn't get through it.
I didn't like the trailer. I didn't give it a shot.
Hilary Swank is she grunts the whole time throughout the movie practically. But I didn't finish it. I do plan on going back and watching it like forward to end, but I could very much see him in a wheelhouse like that, you know, where he gets more creative freedom and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And, you know, if he popped out a hit with Netflix and stuff like that, I fully on expect like
he didn't. District 9 on a very small budget.
He did it, yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, it was one guy that did the motion capture for all the prawns in District 9. It's pretty cool. Like it's pretty cool. So anyway, that was a really long talk on District 9.
Yes.
I think I talked for like 15 minutes. Just go back and watch it.
I think some fans are going to be really happy about our conversation.
Just go back and watch it. It's
true.
It's so worth it. There's just so much in there.
And of course, Chef.
I think both of these, Chef and District 9, are just, it's watching two things that are like just this creativity and stuff like that they had to like get out. And it makes for an interesting movie when the filmmaker just has something inside them that they want to get out and they want to put in front of everybody.
I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Jay, it was a long ass talk on those two movies. Let's get into our beer reviews, and let's just start drinking some beers so we can get into
I'm thirsty.
our
Let's go,
reviews
man.
for this week. Welcome back to the beer segment. Me and Jay got 2 beers that we are going to be reviewing for you. But before we do that, got to drop a line to our sponsors. First up is Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover cure. What it is, 2 tablets that you drop into 8 to 12 ounces of water. Drink that down and your hangover starts to feel better immediately. One of the things that I've actually been doing when I use it is taking it before I go to bed.
Yes.
And ensuring that I don't get a hangover. So it works like that as well. You don't have to wait until the hangover starts. Sometimes you know how much you drank and how much you're going to need.
Yeah, get a head start.
So, get a head start. Pop yourself some Blowfish before bed. Wake up fresh as a summer rain. And then I also used it recently when on the day after the beach. Like I took it and
So did I.
We didn't drink that much like at the beach and stuff, but we were still worn out, dehydrated, and
Exactly. And it helps
give us that boost.
It helps get you back.
It actually
into
has
gear.
some
Right.
additional uses. So if you spent a hot summer day out in the sun drinking Blue Zombie
Wrangling
on the
sharks.
beach, wrangling sharks, drinking Blue Zombie on the beach washing that down with some beers out in the hot sun, and you're feeling a little groggy come Monday morning, you might want to reach for yourself some of that Blowfish. Go over to 4hangovers.com, use the promo code SMBFish, get your 15% off, and that way you can end the scourge of hangovers in your life for good. Also, Super Movie Bros is brought to you by the Podcoin app. Podcoin app is a podcast listening app that you can download on iOS or Android. You can listen to your podcasts on there. You can gain points, and the points will actually help you earn gifts like gift cards, or you can donate your points to charity and start feeling good about yourself while you listen to assholes like me and Jay talk about shit. So make sure that you download the Podcoin app on iOS or Android and start earning a little bit for all your hardcore podcast listening. All right, Jay, me and you got 2 beers that we're going to be reviewing. What beer do you have for everybody today?
Yes, I have the Breckenridge Brewing Company's Summer Pils. It is a fine Colorado ale, and it is a bright bohemian style Pilsner. Now, I'm being cheesy about this right now because I just read an article that
I see a little silhouette of a man, Scaramouche, when you do the fandango, thunderbolts of lightning, very, very frightening me.
I don't have that range, buddy.
All you have to do is come in with a Galileo, Galileo, Figaro Magnifico. Nobody loves me.
But Budweiser is just owning and buying up all the craft brewers. And
Yeah, they are.
They own these guys too.
Yeah, hell yeah. Why not?
You know, Goose Island and all that was a big one recently, and and I was like, God damn.
They own Breckenridge too.
Now they have Breckenridge too, and I'm like, shit.
Broken
fuck.
Goblet's holding out for it too.
I know. Right? Everyone's trying to get their payday.
Everyone's trying to just make that cheddar. Jay, what do you think we do the podcast? We're just waiting for our payday.
We're waiting for a baby. All right, so this one smells on the first initial whiff rough. It just looks and smells like piss to me. Now,
Okay.
Pilsners are not my normal cup of tea. They are very mild. They're very blah-de-da to me, and I don't normally like them.
Blah-de-da.
Blah-de-da.
Oh, blah-dee. Oh, blah-da. This beer goes on.
I can never exactly pinpoint the flavor notes in Pilsners
But
a
it's
lot.
blah-blah-da.
It is.
Okay.
To me.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
And but honestly, it does, you warm up to it. I mean, it actually is an easy, mellow mouthfeel. It's well rounded. It doesn't have a bad aftertaste. It is a little bit dry, and
It's a
it's
tradition.
just okay. It seems to be like a pretty much a stereotypical traditional.
It's a traditional Pils, and Pils is like a traditional beer. You know, it's a very So, all right.
So I'm gonna give it a 2.75 out of 5.
All right, so I am drinking the Beyond Pale Ale from Fishtail Ales Brewing Company, and these guys are out of Olympia, Washington. This one is 5% alcohol by volume, and it is a World Beer Awards winner. I guess it's the 15th annual World Beer Awards. This pale ale, honestly, it's darker than most pale ales that we are used to nowadays.
It is.
It has some very dark notes. It's a little bit more bitter than you would expect from a pale ale. You know, when I've been drinking pale ales a lot lately, they are extremely hoppy. This one is. It's not. It's more
normally pale in color.
Right. It's more on the bitter end. It's definitely more full bodied. And just like yours, it's one that was extremely bitter up front. It's the first beer I was drinking today. So, it kind of gets better as you keep going, as you keep drinking it. I could actually put away quite a few of these. I like it quite a bit. I'm not crazy about it. It's a little bit too bitter for my like. I do like my hoppy beers a little bit more floral, a little bit more citrusy, a little bit more poppy, you know.
A little more pizzazz.
Yeah. I like my IPAs and my pale ales to have some fucking jazz hands, and
I had some jazz hands on that.
And this one very much is at a jazz club. It's dark and it's the doom 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 doom. Anyway,
that sounds like my bourbon or something like that.
So, but anyway, it's pretty alright. You know, it's pretty alright. I would give it a 3.25. It's not too bad.
Cool.
Right? It's a little bit more full body.
Right.
Better, you know, more of an hourglass figure, some would say.
Ooh.
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
I got you.
So
I feel you.
All right, Jay, we got a few 5-minute-ish reviews that we're going to get into. I have two. I saw Stuber and Crawl. And
I saw
Midsommar, which is from the director who did Hereditary last year.
It is. Ari Aster.
Yep. Yeah, smash hit. So let's head over and let's start reviewing those movies. All right, me and Jay got 3 5-minute-ish reviews that we're going to fire off for you. I'm going to go off first. I'm going to start with Stuber.
Please be a 5-star ride.
Hey! Uber?
Yeah, be cool, be nice.
Hey, let me guess, you want me to drive you to all the Sarah Connors in the city?
Stu, what's going on?
I've been taking this cop around. And we're on, like, cop missions.
Where are you? I want you to come over. I really need you.
3 red roses. Girl is thirsty.
Get me closer!
I got an idea!
You got brass
Don't
balls.
talk about my balls!
It's me and you.
Leave my balls out
We're
of
a
it!
team, buddy. I got him!
I got this.
Hello, operator, we need help. Someone's trying to murder us! Hello, operator, we need help. Someone's trying to murder us!
Fuck!
My synopsis for Stuber goes like this. An over-the-hill detective with antiquated thoughts on masculinity recruits a PC, culturally sensitive Uber driver into an unexpected night of adventure. Will hilarity ensue? Sometimes. Sometimes it does. I'll say this, man. Stuber kind of starts off in this place where I wasn't sure what to expect going into this movie. It had a great trailer. The trailer had me hooked. I
loved the trailer.
I thought that was poppy. I thought that I like Dave Bautista. I like Kumail Nanjiani. It seems like they are funny together. And then while watching this movie, I was like, is this like a script that was once The Rock and Kevin Hart? And
could be.
They were
It
like,
could be.
and they were both like, we're gonna pass on this. They're like, who's rockish enough to be The Rock and be in a role that would work for Dave Bautista?
John
Dave Bautista?
Cena?
Yeah. No, so we'll go Bautista.
And they're like coming up the ranks pretty quick.
And they're like, come on, Nanjiani. He's a guy that people are recognizing now, right? Like he had that movie last year or 2 years ago on Amazon, The Sick One. No, it's
The Big Sick.
The Big Sick, right? And then he also obviously is now doing the last season of Silicon Valley, which people absolutely love. So I think like that's it. I just have my suspicions this started out as a Rock,
I understand.
Kevin Hart type thing. It is very central.
It makes a lot of sense.
It is very Central Intelligence-esque. However, where it stands out is it is violent, surprisingly violent for this movie that's like a comedy. It really is kind of bringing back old school like 80s buddy cop type shit.
Okay.
But it's taking it to a different level. It's adding a little bit of, I'm not going to say raunchiness. It's not like that type of comedy, but it's more situational humor. And these two couldn't be two different wild and crazy guys.
They're bringing all of the new age genres and the rating system all to the screen.
Yeah. So
they're pushing the hard R rating for the violence and the gore a little bit with the blood and stuff.
There's
probably.
a lot, dude,
but also with the comedy, I guess. And
there's some
also with
pretty violent, like there's some pretty violent shit that goes on in this
current
movie.
Dialogue.
Yeah,
I mean, like, Ubers and stuff.
More violent than you would expect. Definitely, for sure. And that actually had me quite pleased. So, tick up for this movie.
I'm sure it's a good surprise.
But, Kumail Nanjiani's character he's kind of like this down on his luck type guy. But once he meets Dave Bautista, like the comedy really starts rolling. And for the first half of the movie, I'm rolling with it and I'm laughing, not like a big bust out belly laugh or anything, but
you're enjoying it,
but rapidly breathing through my nose type laugh. Like, you know what I mean? Like that. Nothing like crazy, but as the movie wears on, the comedy wears on me as well. There's a few standout moments. Like it's not spoiler because it's in the Red Band trailer that we played in the beginning. But one of my favorite things that happens in the movie is when he first picks him up. Dave Bautista is this cop who just had LASIK surgery, so he has these big shades. He has these big sunglasses on. He goes, "Let me guess, you want me to take you to every Sarah Connor in the city?" And I just started laughing because I was like, "He does look like the Terminator." I get that. That's a funny reference. That's good. That's top. Yeah. People get that. And that had me laughing. And there's a ton of other things throughout the movie that will make you laugh. And even towards the end, there's some stuff where like even when you're not going with the movie anymore, you're just kind of getting tired of its shtick. They'll still manage to squeak another laugh or two out of you while it's going on.
So is it a full on comedy?
Yeah.
Or is it like an action movie with some comedy zingers thrown in, or is it mostly
it's a comedy
marriage?
With some strong action elements, I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah, with some really strong action elements. And Dave Bautista is just fantastic, man. I gotta give it up to him. Like the dude, even though he's playing this one note character the entire time, that is the note character that he was hired to play. I mean, he's not brilliant or anything like that, but he came in, he did this role, and he did it well. Kumail Nanjiani is, he's the same way. I think like he's like the whole overly PC nature of him becomes a comedy in and of itself. So it's almost like a parody of our society, like these two dueling sides of our society, where you have liberals and the PC culture, and then you have the right wing and the GOP and like their idea of masculinity and their idea of America, America's tough guys. And it's just fun to see it together. But like I said, it will wear on you. I don't think it's anything that I'm like eager to jump back in and see, and I don't think it's anything that anyone needs to go to the theaters to see. This is a perfect HBO movie. Like that's what this is. This is perfect for you on a Saturday night on HBO. And
something wants me to go to the theater to see this just because
you love the trailer.
The trailer kills me, and I love
you love
it.
that part in the trailer where he goes to shoot the guy.
I know,
and he throws the gun at him, and the guy catches it, bashes Dave Bautista in the head.
I saw that
and
trailer.
Throws it back at Kamal and knocks him out.
I saw that trailer quite a bit in the theaters before other movies, and it still got me every single time.
It's funny, this trailer's been out for quite some time, but this movie still, and I think for a lot of people, they're kind of feeling like this movie's coming out of like left field. Like this week and the past like few weeks in between big superhero movies and The Lion King, it's kind of like we'll squeeze a few things in here, and that's how I kind of feel like this and Crawl both, if they didn't come out at this time, they would have no chance of surviving anywhere else in the summer. Crawl
early October maybe would Crawl
would work in that October November time.
Okay.
But this I don't know where they would stick it. It's if they stuck it somewhere in like February and stuff like that,
March,
it would get overshadowed. No, because March now begins the big temple summer blockbusters. Remember, we got Captain Marvel in March this year, so
yeah,
March starts some of the big movies. So yeah, it's
almost not even February anymore, because before Valentine's Day used to be a big weekend, and now that's sort of becoming a weird weekend.
No, we
so
talked about this
January, February, a wash. March.
We talked about this a long time ago in our very first episode when we talked about where we really got into industry stuff. We were talking about Netflix and stuff like that. That's where B movies go to be B movies, and to excel where they can't excel in the box office. This is one of those movies that would have, if this was a Netflix movie or an Amazon Prime movie or a Hulu movie, but mainly Netflix, it would blow up. People would be like, "That was amazing," because your barrier for entry is be at home in your PJs and comfortable and laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
But when you have to go to the theater, spend money and sit through it, not so much.
Not enough selling power to bring you to the theater.
Exactly. And I don't think, Dave Bautista's star power is rising, and so is Kumail Nanjiani, but I don't think that they are big enough stars that they could carry this movie on its back.
Not to get 20 million at the box office over the weekend.
Right. 8 million is what it did in its opening weekend. So not a whole lot. Definitely costs more than that to make.
And it's R-rated. So,
if this had The Rock in it, though, gangbusters. 25 million opening weekend. Definitely make its money back, and probably hang around for a few more weeks to make more money as it goes. And it would be, and I say this because I think critics would see it as mediocrely received, where this actually is getting not lampooned, but it's not doing well with critics either. People are not liking its audience score is actually pretty low too, and I'm not sure where that comes from, because I had a good bit of fun with it. So I had
that's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I had a good bit of fun with it. I don't know where the hate's come. I didn't read any of these reviews. I just happened to see the score and listening to a podcast that mentioned what its pre-score was and stuff, but I'm definitely higher than that on it. I would say, I'm probably somewhere around like a B. I think it's just,
well, that's pretty high,
like a B minus area. But I mean, I'm going to give it a B because it got me a few times. One of the cool things is Karen Gillan is in this, and you might remember her as Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. So you got Nebula and Drax both in this movie too.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Don't go see it in the movies though. I gotta say that.
Okay.
It's definitely a wait for it. Just wait for it.
Just stumble upon it and have a good time with it.
Yeah.
That's that.
All right, Jay, what movie do you have the review for everybody?
I have Midsommar. This is the latest from writer-director Ari Aster behind Hereditary. So this was a big movie for him. That was his debut entry film, and it definitely
Does he have a sophomore slump like Neil Blomkamp?
Not a slump.
Well, Jay, you're going to give us a review. You're going to tell us whether it's a sophomore slump, sir.
So this is a very ambitious, wide release.
I don't mean to tell you how to do your job, but you've been doing it for 3 years now.
I told you that I want to go to that festival in Sweden.
Oh, you said it would be cool to go.
Yeah, and then I got the opportunity, and I decided to do it.
I don't mind you going. I just wish you would have told me. That's all.
Dude, she needs a therapist. You've been wanting out of this stupid relationship for like a year now.
And don't forget about all of the beautiful Swedish women you'll meet in June.
Okay, guys.
That's not her again. Seriously?
Babe, what's happening?
Welcome and happy midsummer. Skål!
What time is it?
9 p.m.
That can't be right. The sky is blue.
This is what 9 p.m. is like here. It's like another world.
Tomorrow's
We just need to acclimate.
I don't want to acclimate. I want to go.
Absolutely not.
Highly ambitious, and it is a wide release from A24, which is really surprising for this kind of film. A couple on the rocks. They travel to Sweden to visit a rural hometown, like a fabled midsummer festival. So put yourself in that kind of headspace.
Okay.
Very light and bright and very airy, kind of weird. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the trailer for it. It's pretty trippy. It's very pretty, very beautiful. And so what begins as a very nice little weird, quirky, peculiar little retreat really quickly dissolved into like some kind of increasingly violent and bizarre competition in this kind of cult fetish town. It's
like orgy.
Well,
just leave it at that.
I'll just leave it at that.
These are spoiler free. Leave it at that. These are all spoiler free reviews. So leave it at that.
This film is insanely bold. Obviously very beautiful, confusing sometimes, and it's got a lot of those what the fuck moments at the very end in that final chapter.
For some people, Hereditary was confusing as well. There was moments where you didn't get it all. This
is on a different level.
Yeah, it ties it in the end. And
this is a lot more challenging to digest than Hereditary. I will say that for sure.
Yeah.
It's much more of like a fairy tale. There's a lot of elements of it being about a breakup movie to some degree. So there's a lot of little things sprinkled in within the context of this movie. It's heavy. This is certainly not for everybody. From what I saw, there was only 2 walkouts, and it was a pretty full film, full theater. And it is long though. So this is 2 hours and 24 minutes long.
Only 2 walkouts.
That's pretty good for this. No, for a movie like this, that's pretty good.
You know what? When I saw Hellboy, there was only 4 of us in the theater, and there were only 2 walkouts.
See the odds.
It's a game of numbers. It really is a game of numbers. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. So
only 2. That's right.
But the runtime.
No one walked out of Stuber, by the way.
So. How can you not? This will strain the average moviegoer for sure. And it's not my favorite cup of tea, this kind of film, but I do appreciate the ambition, and it does solidify for me that Ari Aster is an auteur to watch, and I will always go to a film that he does.
An auteur.
I'm gonna give it a solid B.
All right, solid B. So
I respect it.
Stuber B. Midsummer B.
Yeah,
We're just
polar opposite movies for sure.
Absolutely.
But,
all right. So
is what it is.
The final review that we have is for Crawl.
The state of Florida has issued a Category 5 hurricane warning. All residents must evacuate immediately. Grab your families, your loved ones, and get out.
Dad!
We won't be able to come for you.
Dad! Oh my God! What happened? Hello, can anybody hear me? I'm trapped with my father in our house in Coral Lake. Please send help! Really? Wait, down here!
Pete, you hear that?
In less than an hour, we'll be underwater!
All right, and my synopsis for Crawl goes like this. A young college swimmer returns home to find her father in the midst of a Category 5 hurricane, and now he and herself are trapped in their home's crawl space. As floodwaters rise, they must fend off bloodthirsty alligators and the certain staph infections they will receive swimming with wounds in feces-riddled waters. And that's the only thing I could think about the entire time during this movie. People are getting injured, but they're in these floodwaters. And I remember when we had some big floods around here, like the news kept telling people, do not walk in the waters. It's gray water there. It's mixed with feces and all manner of chemicals. And you could get a staph infection. And for some reason, like when I saw that on our news, that like buried into my mind. So as I'm watching this, I was just like,
that's all you're thinking about.
Like, that's a staph infection. That's a staph. Well, both of you are going to die of sepsis. Just good luck. Just good luck. Anyway, so that's real man brain thinking there, not movie brain thinking where it's just survive. Like that's what it's all about. We would just want the happy ending. We just want them to, put the giant, air tank in the alligator's mouth and smile, you son of a bitch, and blow it up like Chief Brody and Jaws. That's kind of like what they're parroting a lot of stuff here. And I don't mean parroting like making fun of, but like they're paying a little bit of homage to stuff, but it's very much like trapped in a house of horrors, but the horrors, instead of being a monster, it's alligators, and they live in Florida, and it's a Category 5 hurricane.
How's the CG?
So CG's not bad. alligators like those, that type of thing, especially when you're doing it like underwater and stuff like that. It's not a movie monster, right? Like it's something you can research. So animators can go in, they can research how alligators move underwater and stuff like that.
Sure.
And they can get it right, and it works. It does work. And there's a fair amount of practical effects too. I don't believe there's any real alligators in it, but maybe there are. But there's a lot of practical effects. I think there's moments where like tails are swimming and slapping the water and stuff like that, and it's very clearly a props guy working a tail through the water and stuff like that. But cool. But it works because it builds a little bit of suspense. Like there's a little tail flap, so one's close. But like, where's its head at, right?
Less is more.
Right. All you're seeing but don't get me wrong. There are times where like literally an alligator will burst through a wall, like the Kool-Aid Man, and just go like, "Oh yeah!" And you're just like, "Shit!" Like, where the fuck did that alligator come from? Why can he break through a brick wall, but he can't break through a glass shower later on in the movie? Who knows? These are questions you may ask yourself if you're me. But if you're just going with the ride, don't ask those questions. Just shut up. Watch the alligator fight people and watch people fight the alligator. It's good stuff. Anyway, it raises so many logical questions for me. Like, one of the things, like while I'm watching this, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, all right, well, she just took a bite to a part of her body, or the dad takes a bite to the part of her body. And you know how hard an alligator bites, Jay? Probably not.
I know it's very hard.
So it's not as hard as a crocodile does, but it's 2,900 pounds per square inch is like the average of them. So it can be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but 2,900 pounds, PSI is what they bite at. That's over a ton. Jay, would you like to know what the human femur will break at? 1,700 PSI. If you're doing your math correctly, it's less than 2,900. So, and that's the strongest bone in your body, other than your skull, is your femur. So, people are getting bit and stuff like that, and then they are functioning like fully formed human beings.
Fuck them.
And I'm just like,
fuck that shit.
Yeah, like if I was a cripple watching this movie, I'd be like, bullshit.
Erroneous.
Erroneous on all counts. I'm watching this and I realize the type of movie that I am watching, right? I am not watching a movie that took the time to Google like how much an alligator, how heavy an alligator's bite is.
It's not that kind of movie. It's not that kind of movie.
And whether a bone breaks. But when a certain person gets bit on their shoulder down to like their torso and stuff, I'm sitting there and like, your rib cage is crushed.
You got 2 minutes maybe tops.
Right. Your rib cage is crushed.
Come on.
You have some teeth in your vertebrae. You may never walk again. But then that person just gets up, walks, and like almost does a chin up like at one point. And I'm like, no way. Like, your collarbone's broken, your ribs are broken. A person like has an arm off at one point and still functioning just fine. It's like, not that movie though. Not that movie. Shut your brain off. I mean, I know how human bodies
This is
work.
not an HBO find. This is a Cinemax.
This is a Cinemax find. No nudity in it.
Wow.
Unfortunately, no nudity in it. But it is effective with like, at moments of like that claustrophobic feeling, because they're under the crawl space of the house and they're trapped and they can't get out, and the alligators all around, but you don't know where the alligators are. One could pop up at any minute, and there are times where it seems incredibly likely that one will pop out and shock you. And they may not. So it's incredibly effective in that manner. However, there are moments where like they break that tension by going and following some random characters for 5 minutes just to watch them die. And then we're back into the crawl space. And what it did was it broke that for me. Like, it broke that feeling of claustrophobia, it broke that tension, when this is the type of movie that should want to ramp it up and build the tension throughout and giving it quick releases with the two characters.
So you think it should have been better off singling into the crawl space?
I think so.
The whole film.
I think so. Yeah. I think they added the other stuff for more of like a flair, just to show you how dangerous these alligators are, because we can't have them showing how dangerous they are by killing one of our two main characters.
Understandable.
So we have to add other people in who can be.
Yeah, we got to sprinkle in some death,
right?
You know?
Who could be fodder for these things.
Sure. Okay.
Now the movie stars, and I butcher her name even though it's an Italian name, but it's Kea Scodelario, and you might remember her in Pirates of the Caribbean.
The only time I saw her.
Yeah, she was in the most recent Pirates of Caribbean. She played Karina Smith, who I think wound up being Barbossa's daughter. And then you may also remember her from the Maze Runner movies. Some people actually really like those. I've only seen the first one, but I hear they're actually pretty good. And she also played Eve in Moon back in 2009, the wonderful Sam Rockwell sci-fi film, which may get talked about next week when me and Jay do a top 5 sci-fi films from 2010 to today. So kind of like the current decade, Jay, leading into 2020. We're going to do that next week. Moon might come up on one of our lists, but so she's also in that. And then a very famous guy. You guys may remember him from the 1998 hit Saving Private Ryan and Battlefield Earth. It's Barry Pepper.
Oh, my man. I love me some Barry Pepper every once in a while, man. I'll tell you.
It's Barry Pepper.
God, I love him. He's still alive, still kicking.
How's their acting in this? It's all right.
It's what I like to always say. Serviceable.
It's all right. It's whatever.
It's fine.
Barry Pepper grows a goatee well.
They'll be employed again one day. Yeah.
Not ruining anyone's career. So, and it's an extreme B movie, but it definitely understands itself and knows what it is and what its audience is, and it plays to that, and it does it all really effectively. I know it really sounds like I'm bashing this film really hard, but actually I don't mean to, because I had quite a bit of fun watching it. It is that shut your brain off and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And even though I'm picking it apart for all of its logical flaws, it's still a fun ride. Absolutely fun. It's directed by Alexandre Aja. And he actually directed The Hills Have Eyes, Piranha 3D. These are, the type, this is right in his wheelhouse. This is the type of movies that he was pretty much it seems like he was made to direct. It's also produced by Sam Raimi, and I think that's, the flourish of gore both comes from both of them. I kind of wish Raimi had a little bit more hands in it. He's been doing this, producing these horror films Don't Breathe and stuff like that, where they're good. They're good, but they're not great. I would love to just see him take them over and do it, because if this was Sam Raimi doing this, God, what a ride it would be. I would have way more fun with it. But it's, when I look at what's out this week, Crawl's it, man. Crawl's it. And if anything's to be believed about early reviews of Lion King, go see Crawl instead of Lion King. Just really stick it to Disney, This is what you get for remaking one of my childhood classics. Now I'm going to go watch alligators just fucking destroy people.
I'm actually happy I didn't pre-order my tickets, because I'm like, do I really want to go and see this?
Me and Lauren are still going opening night, and me and Lauren are going to review it together for the show. But
I'm going to be going down to shore as soon as possible and just kill myself in 100-degree heat. So, yeah.
But no, man, Crawl, it's, while there is some emotional moments in it, there's, and what I mean is forced emotional moments, they really do actually flush out the characters and their character stories pretty well to give you a good reason to root for them through this natural disaster,
right?
And all these alligators. You won't get an explanation why alligators are so bloodthirsty, because we all read the news, and I don't think alligators eat that many people a year, although we've heard some pretty crazy stories that come out of Florida. But we do know that regardless, in the end, whether they get rescued or not, that doesn't matter. They're both dying of a staph infection, because this isn't just normal floodwaters. These are Florida floodwaters. So there's a ton of shit in that water you just don't want to deal with. And it's getting into your open wounds. Just... You know what?
Between Disney and all the retirement centers in Florida,
there ain't an antibiotic alive that's gonna cure your shit.
And all the drugs in southern Florida, Florida, not California. Well, California too, but.
Well, you're right. The tip of Florida, that's the most dangerous part, because
just the tip,
right? Yeah. Because that's where all the viscous fluid comes out when it has a VD. right, man. So my score for Crawl, it's a B+.
Oh,
I'm gonna be
a high score for the week.
A high score for the week. No, well, it's extremely aware of what it is.
Look, I get it, man. I hear you.
So like when you watch it,
sometimes it's all anybody wants.
You don't have expectations, and maybe if this movie added like that realism element that I was saying, you know, or if it added into what I was talking about, just being about two people trapped in this basement with floodwaters rising and two crocodiles, like two alligators, like in their crawl space. It might have lacked that B movie flourish that I think people really enjoy and can get down with. It would have lacked that, you know, where the way it was done. It's just perfectly for that type of person who could just get down with it. And yeah, man, this is the one to see this past weekend. If you didn't see it, maybe go see it instead of Lion King. So that's going to do it for Super Movie Brothers tonight. I want to thank all of you guys for listening. Please, if you're enjoying the show, the only way that you could possibly show us appreciation, if you're not going to join the Patreon and get the extra content once a month, then what you get for just $1, I'll drop that plug in a second.
At least $1.
Then head over to iTunes. Even if that's not where you listen to this podcast, but you have an iTunes account, go on there, leave us a review. The more reviews that we have, the more, I guess, popular we become, and the more people actually can see us and find us and start to listen to us, get us on those top charts, get us some, you know, more people that listen, maybe some people that'll join the Patreon. Or if you're really enjoying the show and you'd like to get that additional content, some of the stuff where me and Jay go a little bit more off the cuff, get a little bit more personal with some of our stories, and talk about some films that aren't always so new, just things that we love and just want to discuss, head over to patreon.com/Super Movie Bros Podcast and sign up for just $1. You can start getting that additional content and more the more you want to pledge. Super Movie Brothers is also part of the Podfix Network. You can check out all the great shows that are part of the Podfix Network over at podfixnetwork.com. You can also check out all of our movie cocktail recipes up there. Just hit the drop down menu, go to movie cocktails, and you'll see some of our recipes from season 1 there. So I want to thank all of you guys for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.